my good pal, Brock Loi, aka the Atheist Antidote, made a video response to me, and this is not a response to him, or at least not intentionally. It does touch on one of the subjects that he brought up in his video, which is why I mention it. And I will say to you, Brock, that I do intend to write you a more lengthy response to your video, and I apologize if it ends up being like 2,000 words or something like that. But Brock, along with some other people, seem to accuse me of hypocrisy or not seeing the irony in terms of my own past history on YouTube and the way in which I am now been denouncing groupthink and a pack mentality and polarized, unproductive conversations. And I will say that I'm not going to attempt to pretend that I'm some sort of perfect person who has always done everything right. I'm not quite that self-delusional. I've made mistakes in the past. However, I will say in my defense that I have been on this site for 7 years now, and I'm a lot different of a person then, and I'm a lot further along the learning curve. And I think that, generally speaking, having been a philosophy major, in discussing things like religion, I mostly stuck to philosophy of religion, as boring as it was sometimes, because those were the sorts of things I was interested in. And one major difference between conversations going on now and the debates of religion of old is that when people were debating religion, I actually think that there was a lot of productive conversation, and people actually addressed each other's arguments. There were countless videos to Christians if a Christian brought up the Kalam cosmological argument or some other variation of the cosmological argument or the design argument. You would see lots and lots and lots and lots of very thoughtful responses to these questions posed to atheists. And occasionally you would even see thoughtful responses from theists, but that's another story. And I certainly do, looking back now, don't feel all that proud about the way certain people who happen to be religious were treated on this site by people claiming to be atheists. And I have stood up in the past and questioned certain ideas of atheist billboards and the way that certain atheist trolls like to go around the internet saying, you know, religion is stupid, and insulting and calling stupid every religious person they can find. I've called that out in the past before. And I've also called out, you know, the whole drama with Thunderfoot and Dawa films. Now, the Atheist Antidote seems to think that, you know, with feminism under attack, my true liberal colors are coming out, and that was the aha epiphany moment. But if anything, I think it more likely was, for me, the whole debacle with Dawa films and Thunderfoot, because you have a situation there in which two users get into an online pissing match, and it's escalated to 11, as they say. You have people calling the police and the FBI, harassments, death threats, attempting to steal someone's private information and release it online, and trying to get people fired. Internet drama, I mean, it went beyond the internet and became something else altogether. And there were a lot of people that were just very not aware of what other people were doing. Because I think when you have situations like that, the individual user is probably alone at their computer. And when you have someone who is very popular and then gets into some argument with some other user that they demonize, and they say or do anything that encourages people to troll, and they have lots of users, then even if 1% of their audience takes up that suggestion to troll, that could be a substantial number of people. And sooner or later, you're gonna attract idiots who are going to take it, to the next step and the next step and the next step, and always try and escalate. And so on one hand, you have the users who see their own actions as isolated, and then in the reverse, you have the people who see, they don't see commenters as individuals, individuals. They see, you know, a group of comments from 300 people or whatever. And then you have the people who know they have the large audience, but absolve themselves of any blame for any action that they might have encouraged their audience to take, and or in general just not taking any form of responsibility for what they encourage of the audience. And so it's a very distorted social situation that it's not something that just happens all the time. I mean, people can just bicker individually, but it takes a kind of cult of personality that you know, couldn't really have been denounced 3 or 4 years ago when the religious debates were all the rage on YouTube, because it hadn't totally developed yet. You know, so I think we take for granted that YouTube is still a relatively new way of communicating and making video blogs and all these things. And we're kind of the pioneers of this stuff. And so nobody has quite figured everything out. And, you know, the further you go back towards the beginning, the less people really understood about how social dynamics work. And the less people were established as these sort of cult of personality figures. And I personally find it incredibly irresponsible to, you know, point a troll army in somebody's direction. And that's why it's sort of surreal to see people with substantial numbers of subscribers go after, you know, some low person on the totem pole, as it were, because, I mean, they can direct a lot of negative attention on a person at once, and then they often, you know, shrug their shoulders and say, hey, just ignore the trolls, you know. Oh yeah, I mean, I know I'm the one who directed all the trolls at you, but I mean, you should just be above it and you should just ignore it all, you know. This kind of you know, Pontius Pilate, you know, yeah, it's sure, I'm letting them crucify you, but I wash my hands of it, okay? I think that people can act pretty irresponsible in some of those regards as well. And it would be like, imagine if I had an audience of, say, 60,000 or something like that, or I got 60,000 views on average per video, and then I said, you know, I'm going to use a really silly example here, but like, you know, Healthy Addict is a poser. She has all these Doctor Who toys and she's always showing them off in her videos, but she's not a real Doctor Who fan. She doesn't even watch classic Doctor Who. Total poser. You know, and imagine now a further leap of logic that for whatever reason people that got people worked up. And, you know, if 1% of the audience went and trolled Ashley, that would be 600 people. And so that's the kind of power that people with large audiences can have, and they can you know, shine a disproportionate light on different things. And if they do it to promote things that are positive, then that can be great. If they do it so that they can have other people, you know, perpetuate their own petty online pissing matches, then that's really rather stupid, because again, things shouldn't be taken to the point where you're trying to get somebody else fired from their job, or, you know, have the FBI sent on them because you know, it's some like online disagreement. That's when things have clearly gone too far. And you know, people get really worked up without actually thinking, like, what the hell is going on here? Now, there was one person in the comment section who referenced my video responses to Venom Fang X specifically, and I have to say that, in hindsight, maybe those really weren't such a great idea. If I may give my armchair psychological opinion on Venom Fang X, I think he may well be a narcissistic sociopath. Now, in a certain morbid way, I still find Venom Fang X strangely fascinating, just because he's one of the examples where internet attention and internet celebrity in the mind of the right person produces some really fascinating results. And the mistake of making video responses to him is just to feed his own need for attention. But one thing that I've noticed over the years about Venom Fang X is that, with maybe a couple of exceptions, he only responded to people who had more views than him. So he'll gladly try and get into a debate with Thunderfoot or The Amazing Atheist or Lacey Green because they were more popular than him. And he made a video response to Lidico Kripken. I half suspect that's because he had a crush on her. But those seem like rather calculated moves, that he was somebody conscious, very conscious of his own, internet popularity and trying to garner more popularity and more attention, and even if it was negative attention, to feed his own, psychological complexes. Just maybe more attention to the crazy is not such a great idea after all. Incidentally, in spite of all my video responses to him, he never responded back to me, although I'm certain he was aware of me, including using a little clip of me in one of his little montages, plus the fact that he seemed to be one of those obsessed YouTube video watchers. I did a video on that. But I wonder if it's A, because I wasn't popular enough, or B, because I would have torn him to shreds, or C, both A and B. I'm probably going to guess C. So my point here is that I have not been perfect. My views certainly have evolved, and this entire stream of thought that I've had has not been some abrupt aha epiphany I had a week ago, or a month ago, or a year ago. That's all for right now, folks. Have a nice day. End transmission.